Okay, first task done. Hello, everybody. Do you have fun so far? Again, do you have fun so far? Nice. Next question. Who was born between 1980 and 1995? Please raise your hand. Awesome. I hope that you raise your hand because I have some bad news for you. The older generation thinks we are lazy, we are unpolitical, we don't want to settle, and the most important thing for us is personal self-fulfillment. I remember when Gregor Gysi, a German politician, told to us during a panel discussion at Mannheim Forum, how can it be that a 68-year-old man is more rebellious than all of you students together? That was a burn. And that bothered me so hard because we are rebellious, aren't we? We are political. And honestly, it seems that everybody knows that our Earth faces severe ecological problems. And through today's media and countless sources of information, we are more aware than ever of the problems we are facing. But with this information overload, we start to feel numb. So we keep telling ourselves, I don't have enough money to change anything. I don't think anybody would listen to me. I can't do anything about the problems in the world. But exactly this type of conversation gets directly in our heads and stops us from acting. But you wouldn't be here today if you weren't seeking for a solution, right? So today I want to convince you that these three sentences are harmful and meaningless. Like, you notice we have different generations in this audience who have faced different challenges when they were my age. Our generation has to face many challenges. However, we have more possibilities than no generation ever before us. 2010, 18% of the world's population had access to cell phones. Only 5 years later, the number has increased to nearly 80%. Have you ever realized that Uber, the world's largest taxi company, owns no own vehicles to drive people around? Or let's take Alibaba, the world's available retailer, owns no own inventory to sell. Let's take Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate to rent it to people. Facebook, the most popular media owner, creates nearly no content. Zuckerberg lets us create all the content he needs to make money, and we are doing it with pleasure and for free. I used to live in a small city in Lower Saxony where we have more cows, chickens, and pigs than people. Now, imagine, when I told my best farming mates, hey, you don't need to own any pigs to be a good pig farmer, they would laugh at me. We're living in an odd world, aren't we? Odd, but full with possibilities. Because there was no point in human history where one person could tell a story or create a product that within a matter of days or weeks could reach thousands of people. So let's start with the first harmful sentence. I don't think anybody will listen to me. This is Manihur. Manihur, when she was 18 years old, she was pretty average. She had friends, went to schools, went out for the weekends, but unfortunately, she worked on the 4th floor of the Rana Plaza building at Phantom Apparels in Bangladesh on the 24th April of 2013. The day the Rana Plaza building collapsed. A sewing machine fell on her head. She was trapped by rubble and steel, buried for nearly 20 hours. She only was rescued because her former colleagues never gave up on her and kept trying to free her. In one of the worst industrial accidents of the 21st century, thousands of garment workers were buried alive while making clothes for one of the richest companies of our world. After this horrible accident, Benetton, a clothing manufacturer, refused to join the Rana Plaza Arrangement Compensation Scheme for the victims. People refused to understand that. They shared Manihur's story and the stories of other garment workers on avas.org, an online petition platform. They shared what they had been through, and they demanded justice and compensation from Benetton. And what happens next was unbelievable. The reaction was tremendous. Thousands of people shared Manihur's story and the story of other garment workers. And the international press put pressure to Benetton, and they finally won. Benetton responded by contributing to the new Rana Plaza arrangement scheme and even thanked us for giving them the motivation to act. This support was a huge milestone, as subsequently $1.1 million was paid to workers who had lost so much. Now, please consider for 1 second that these are one of the most disempowered and marginalized people in our world, survivors of a horrible accident caused by our lust for cheap clothes. And do you still think that no one would listen to you? Let me tell you a personal story. My roots are in Vietnam. My parents were both people who fled to Germany after the Vietnam War. When I was a child, I never understood why my parents sent so much money back to Vietnam, while we also didn't have enough for ourselves. In 2008, when one of the biggest flood catastrophes struck Vietnam, I saw it on TV, and I was so ashamed for my thoughts, because I desperately realized that I had to do something. And I gathered all my money together, but I realized that I don't have enough money to change anything. So I Googled and I Googled, and I found out that deforestation increases the likelihood of floods. And a huge proportion of school paper contained rainforest wood. So, being idealistic, I gathered some friends and went straight to the principal's office and demanded recycled paper. No, honestly, it was like we pushed each other to the door and say, no, you knock on the door, no, you knock on the door, it was your bad idea. And suddenly the principal opened the door and said, oh, what should we say? So I looked shyly up at him and I asked if it's possible to consider to change the normal paper into recycled one when it's possible. And he just say, we don't have enough money to change anything. So we have to sell cakes and sandwiches and ask all local companies and banks to contribute to our recycled paper fund. Long story short, after 3 years, some small group of friends turned into 60 kids and teachers who are fighting for the use of sustainable paper. We also initiate some sustainable projects, like a shop for sustainable school materials or a health and fitness day for young peoples. We also set up a huge school garden for the younger peoples to learn more about the nature. The most important part for me that I learned is that it's not the money that is the most valuable thing, but the ability to see solutions where others see barriers. And I know what some of you think. Yeah, nice result, but these guys can't stop deforestation. Yes, and that's true. But I believe little by little, a little becomes a lot. And it's always important to ask yourself, what can I do locally to contribute to solving a global problem? And therefore, I want to encourage you who are already in the business world, who are already working for companies, organizations, or here in the University of Mannheim. Be brave. Be an entrepreneur and look at your ecosystem and ask yourself, what can I do to contribute in solving a global problem? Now, another 5 years later, I still didn't grow any taller, but I found a much better way of financing an idea or a project. The special thing about this funding is that people get something in return for the money. Normally it's a product or it's a service. And a project will not get funded if not enough people believe in its cause. I'm of course referring to crowdfunding. To put it in a nutshell, crowdfunding is a way of financing your idea, your startup via the internet with the help of other people called the crowd. So last year I wanted to found a student organization with my best friends called Infinity Mannheim. We want to give a platform for young people to experience more in the field of sustainability, social entrepreneurship, and we want to give a platform where young people could develop their potential. But the University of Mannheim had already such strong performance and excellent student organization. So it was very hard for us to raise some money for our lectures, workshops, and projects. So we tried crowdfunding because we grew to nearly 80 students And people ask me, we need money, Duc. We need money to make some projects. Okay, let's start crowdfunding. And after only 1 month, we raised nearly 5,000 euros from private people all across Germany. And again, the most valuable part wasn't the money, but the constructive feedback and contacts we gained throughout Germany. Companies were writing to us and say, hey, nice product, but I would improve this, I would improve that. Or people say, I love the idea. It's nice that you start this idea. So let's get to our last assumption. I can do anything about the problems in the world. So where do you think success starts? Some might say success starts with making money. Others say, oh, success starts for me when I can a nice suit and a big watch. A business administration student might say, oh, I have a big dream. Success starts for me when I'm leading a multinational company with a market capitalization of $20 billion and a growth forecast with a CAGR of 20% for the coming years. Woo! No, I think success comes easier. I say success starts in our mind. Picture this. Birds could walk on the ground if they wanted to, but they use the wind to fly, even if they don't see the wind. Likewise, we can use our mindset to elevate our dreams and our passion. But many people let their thoughts hold them back, hold them on the ground. Thoughts like, I don't have enough money to change anything. I don't think anybody would listen to me. I can do anything about that. These thoughts get in our way, and they stop us from doing what we could and what we should do. I believe in the power of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have to transform our inner monologue into clear, positive declarations, like, in order to start my company, I will work as hard as I can. In order to start my first social startup, and I will put all my passion into it, and I will succeed. And maybe it's true. We can't do anything about the problems in the world. But only, again, I can say it again, only when we stay in our comfort zone. So it's never easy to set out on paths which are less traveled rather than sticking with beaten tracks. So let us say, I don't need any money to change anything. I will gather people around me and I will achieve something that is meaningful because I can do anything I want to do. And I will face the problems in the world. Dear Generation Y, we see through our digital eyes global injustice, collapsing ecosystems, and the outcome of the global warming. I believe our generation is the key actor in driving our society forward where others see barriers. Dear fellow students, let us be the generation who creates new sustainable solutions that haven't been imagined before. Let's refuse to accept this world we live in. Thank you so much.